Welcome. Thank you for being here, everybody. Today we're going to channel Abraham Lincoln and I believe a couple of others. So I've been nudged in the last weeks really strongly to go ahead and do some channeling for YouTube and share a little bit. And several months ago, 2-3 months ago, I had a client ask me several times if I could ask if Abraham Lincoln could come and we could have a discussion with him. And she had some specific questions, like one of the top ones was he truly honest? Because, you know, his nickname is Honest Abe. And things about society, like what can we expect upcoming in our politics and society? And will there be some more equality for humanity? She had some really good questions. So here we go, channeling Abraham Lincoln. So I'm seeing Abraham Lincoln, and I'm also seeing John F. Kennedy Jr. and his brother Bobby. So it took me a moment. I couldn't figure out who the third person was, but I believe it's Bobby Kennedy as well. So we have two presidents, respectfully, here, and Bobby Kennedy. And they are going to bring us some answers and some truth about societal things, political things. So President Lincoln is going to start. He's saying thank you for welcoming us, and thank you for being yourselves here today, all of you. He says he's sorry that sometimes in daily life it is with tumult, like tumultuousness, tumult. He says there's it's some discomfort for everyone. The way it's feels unsafe and chaotic, and we don't know what's true. We can turn on the television and we wonder what's being covered up. If they're telling us one thing, is that really even true, or what's being covered up, or what we don't know about? And he says, watch as in this next month or so, it be a little bit more smooth. However, it will be very intense. And he says it's like a stargate or a portal of some kind opening up, where we will have new information and knowledge and be able to access within ourselves truths and understandings that have been too hard for us to maybe even handle as a collective or as a mass consciousness, and that would be all of us. And he says, watch as some beliefs shift and change and grow. And just like in his time, he says he was here to, yes, be honest as much as possible, but to also help anchor in energy, anchoring in frequencies for humanity, to keep humanity with rights and safety. It's almost like the whole entire humanity out of slavery, which is, you know, part of his presidential time period was about slavery and freedom. And he says, and honesty. So I believe it's like September 8th or 9th or 10th. I'm not really sure what the date is. It's Sunday. And he says, watch for the rest of September. It will be intense. And all of you, if you need to rest, or if you feel down and depressed, he says, I know what that is like. Just let it roll. Like, let it roll through you. Experience it and let it go. For the energies are very tumultuous, is what he's saying again. And I say thank you. And he says, so most of humanity, average, regular people, are very much in desire of having equal rights and having their rights reinstated and being sovereign beings. We are just not able to understand how. And he says, watch as the system falls a little bit more and crumbles a little bit more in these next months and days. There will be things that we have not been able to comprehend within ourselves. And he's bringing up things like Jeffrey Epstein, I'm not really sure how you say it, who was the man who raped children, young women, and many people knew about it, and it could be possibly in connection with many other people, like wealthy people, famous people, political people, and nobody did anything about it. So the idea that we hold and belief systems that we hold in our personal lives, as well as the bigger picture, world picture, our communities, our states, our areas, our countries, and globally, that certain kinds of people are lesser, and so it doesn't matter. And the fame goes to the predators or the narcissists, he's saying, is really tough. Most of us cannot, it's very hard for our systems to think in terms of predators, narcissists, people harming each other and not caring about the victims. And so some would say, well, the victims should think better and be more positive and sing Kumbaya in the yard. And he's saying, this is not so. This is a program of apathy toward people who have their lives ruined, harmed, broken down to the core of their being. And he says that's been too hard for us to look at. However, in these next months, we will be seeing a little bit more of that. So perhaps there will be more possibly famous or political or movie star people who are being found out that they actually, honestly, truly have been harming others. Like it's the power struggle, the narcissism in the atmosphere, he's saying, is falling. So watch in your personal lives, as well as globally and all levels in between, as some of these things are going to be seen, and we can no longer just ignore them and say, oh, well, we're just, 4,000 girls that we don't care about, and realize that we do care, and they are our children, and they will be someone's mothers, and they are daughters, and it doesn't have to be just females, but it will be people, humans, tall, short, rich, or poor, are important. And so we watch as some of the belief systems, and remember in his time, black people are seen as lesser, and we're just sold like, furniture. These things, he says, I'm very glad to see progression. However, there's no balance for these things when you think someone is lesser. And he says, watch, it is one of the key mechanisms of the darkness to keep oppression and suppression in place in our societies, and our old school dark ages beliefs stuck within us, is to get us to go against each other. So one of the main things that can happen would be if we went against each other and judged each other. And he's saying, so that's a false move. And so he just wants us to be aware of that. All of us, he says, all humanity, all of us will start releasing and breaking through to old beliefs, breaking free from old belief systems that kept us oppressed or without rights. And that's for everyone. Again, tall people, short people, light skin, dark skin, different religions, gay people, straight people. He says to recognize value in each other is great strength. And so he says there will be more of those things uncovered in the weeks and months and possibly years to come that were too much for us to handle. And like in his time, there was a different set of rules, or even a more oppressed set of rules and beliefs. He says he's glad to see them breaking free, albeit very uncomfortable, He says it causes us all depression and oppression, and so he's watching, even though it's been unpleasant for many, watching some of it dissipate. So he says, keep your eyes open for this. And there are some big solar energies coming in, so that each one of us, even people that are absolutely do not want to talk about spiritual things or channeling or solar frequencies or anything like that, will notice again that something's going on, and we're kind of shifting a little bit. We will not be willing to put up with things that harm us on deep levels, and our children and our families and our friends. So he's saying, so President Kennedy is saying, so some of the programs are narcissistic thinking or power struggle, power over others is false. That is not in the law, he's pointing up, of the universe. So these are some darker energies that are functioning here on Earth, that are being swept away piece by piece. And he says, so inequality, like men, women, children being unequal, that some should have better rights than others. And he says, watch as those crumble a little bit more and make us a little bit more uncomfortable, and bring us into the truth that people, our people, all of the people, are important. And we will be willing more in the future, he says, to say no in group, in mass, to those who harm others. So he says it's why politics has been a little bit seeming ridiculous, and other countries outside of the U.S. See the U.S. as a little bit crazy or unpleasant to know. He also says thank you, and he says hello to his family. He's very proud. He says choose a direction, like a purpose, a direction, how you can help, because he knows, he sees how many of us are drawn to serving humanity and helping others. And I really like that. That feels good. And he says, watch who you're allowing or not allowing, who is coming into your energy systems, energy fields. He says, I was silenced because I was about to bring forth truth that could help humanity evolve and move forward in an equal rights kind of way, or bring everybody to an understanding, or help them see their own rights and truths. So he says this part of the glitches in the matrix are falling through, and he says, watch how we come together and help one another. He says this is good. He says before the murders and deaths and the many killings keep happening, and remember to go against one another in very small ways, not wise. It keeps us occupied, and occupied is another word for enslaved. And he says occupied in the distortion. It distracts us from the higher truths. Bobby Kennedy is nodding, and he says, so we will also uncover some other programs in society that certain, if we all have a belief that certain people need to act this way or be this way, or the definitions of others. It's like mind control, he says, definitions of others. If you work at the grocery store, you're lesser than someone that works at the bank, which is not true. So we give thanks. He says, we really send out a thanks and an appreciation for all people who, in all skill sets, in all backgrounds, whatever families or backgrounds they were born into, they give thanks to all people who do their part to help each other. That's, Bobby Kennedy says, and don't forget to tip your waiter or waitress. Don't forget to open the door or let someone in on the highway. Like, you know how there's people, sometimes if you're in a bigger city, there's aggressive driving and no one will let you on to the on-ramp. Or he says, be aware of anyone in your energy, whoever they are. You will be able to see the truth of if their meanings are good, like if they're honest, or they're trying to be manipulative very quickly. And so this influx of energy is helping us amend and coming from a more place of harmonious peace, most of us. And then it will afflict or affect the others that are not willing to be harmonious very quickly, and so there will be more tumult. Whew. Okay. I really wasn't expecting all of this stuff. I didn't know what they were going to say today. Some people want to know about the monetary shift changes. So this is President Kennedy, and President Lincoln is nodding, and they're saying in each of their presidencies they were working toward helping people lift up and have more abundance in every layer and area of their lives, and so they're working in that energy as well from spirit to help us rise up so that there is plenty for everyone, and that we sort of come into an understanding where we help each other, not help each other pay for everything, not help each other, taking each other's energies, but in a balanced, harmonious way. So we're going to, the end of this year and in the next few years, learn how to personally, and we will see the answers globally as well on how to find more simple, truthful answers for big subjects, big issues, including in our personal lives. And he says, so the financial reset is happening, but it must go so slowly. If it was, all of a sudden nothing works and no one had money anymore, it would be pretty scary. So he says we're working on it, but there are some pieces. There might be some kind of next steps. He says there are people controlling these things, whether the economy bottoms out or not, and we have been shifted from a really, the most powerful country years ago to not as much. So they're saying, just know there's a financial reset, and there are wise people working on humanity's behalf to shave away the falsities of, just the things, falsities such as, predators and pedophiles should run everything, and most everybody should be poor and work really hard and never have fulfillment. So they're saying financial reset is for everybody, and there are pieces implemented that are upcoming. There are things happening underneath the surface that we do not see in many ways, and there are many good light beings or light workers or helpers or honest, good people that are really working on their parts, doing their parts to help humanity kind of evolve or rise up above tyranny or oppression. He says, watch, you'll see more. And as you look back several years, you'll see how we have come a little ways. He says the balancing of things are coming forth. Balancing. The earth is a living, breathing energy body. It's an entity or energy body. And the earth is shifting and shedding some of its old layers. So while this is happening, the collective consciousness is rising up with her, the earth, Gaia, and watch how this happens. There might be some, just like there was a hurricane last week, Dorian, and still continuing. So one of them said still continuing. And these energies, tumultuous energies, are clearing and cleansing the old belief systems out of us. He wants to, President Lincoln wants to say yes. Very much he tried to be most honorable and honest. And he says in those times as well as these times, there are people opposing each other, and of course he got assassinated. So he says that wasn't the whole story. There was a little bit more going on. There was a conspiracy going on, he says, and I am free. And he says that was hard for my family. And so sometimes when things are abruptly changed as such, it's hard for the overall result to be positive. But he says, I came into the lifetime as Abraham Lincoln to bring a message. And we can look around, and now there are TVs and more things than just mail and a newspaper. Because he says that in his time, that's what was available. And he says, so we can share, and we can make more of an expanding difference by sharing the truth kindly and gently, and keep working on ourselves, each one of us. He says, watch as the magic unfolds. That's funny. He says in his time he was, his soul contract was to be exactly who he was. And he says he saw sadness, he saw loss and grief in his own personal life, and had some weirdness. And he said he did see some conspiracies or some dysfunction in the way things work. And he says it's wildly out of control now. And again, you will see some of the things that are uncomfortable that we do not always understand how to cope with. Things like really bad people harming many people. And he says we have to learn to make it be a community or an unity instead of the mass energies. Mind control. Bobby Kennedy saying mind controls. That allows people to think it's a good idea and no big deal, and that we're all expecting it tomorrow to go shoot people. And for certain reasons that we don't sometimes understand and sometimes we don't. And he's saying these people, most of them are not mentally ill. They are very dark, and they are sort of overtaken, have attachments that sort of control them. So we can see that in our lives where there are darker energies kind of overtaking and kind of throwing bowling balls right through our lives. And he says on a mass scale, we will no longer be willing to put up with people that go shoot people. So many times in the stories, this is Bobby Kennedy saying this, many times in the stories that we hear about what happened with that school shooting, and as we honor and pray for the families, and we wonder how could some people with so much ammunition just walk into a school or a Walmart or a post office or a church or any place, a concert or a movie theater, and just shoot people, feel the need to kill. And he says our societal belief systems have kind of mind controlled us, and the darkness has overtaken. So we're undoing those things in these next years. So we will no longer put up with that. And if we know someone is extremely narcissistic, we will not allow them to carry on. They're saying carry on in dark energies. One of the main messages they want to tell us today is that we are safe. And as we learn to create an energy, our thoughts, as we are creators, yes, each one of us are co-creating with God at all moments. So as we learn to ground and balance our thoughts and ideas, we will become a more stable, stationary society. If you could see the way we see you, the shining brightness, the wisdom that's surfacing, the truth, and all that is, you would clean this world up within months and have a more harmonious existence and usher in these years of peace. So keep seeing people, having discernment, but seeing people's lights and truths and hearts. Even if you don't care for it, you do not have to hate. And that gives us our rights back, and we are sovereign beings, so think in these terms. So through September and October, into October, it feels like there might be some excitement going on, maybe on the world stage or maybe in weather. And it feels like some Brexit things, and we will find out. Also, a few people maybe in different political standings, or maybe somehow famous, I'm not sure, standings are not necessarily as honest or honorable as we think. However, they're saying that please have discernment and compassion, because if we took any of us, you, me, the people down the street, the people on the television, took any of us, we could somehow twist it and make someone look bad and demonize them in some way. So have compassion and look for the truth, and be unwilling to put up with carnivals of lies, circuses of lies, and going against each other. Well, it's like the separation, the wheat and the chaff. So as we separate the wheat from the chaff, we will notice what we were no longer put up with, and that could be crime and power over others that's false, or it's such imbalances where half the country doesn't have enough to eat, or people treat each other badly. So they're saying thank you again. Inside of each one of you is a call to find purpose, and just answer that call every day, and sort of ask your higher self what you can do to help. So I'm saying, is there anything else we can know from the presidents? Know that you are safe. Have compassion for one another. Have discernment for when, also when people are in your energy. Be aware of who they are and their intentions. This could be, even people we don't know. And it's almost like hit the reboot button is what they're saying. Like hit the reboot button, refresh button, so that we can be on the next parts of our paths, and we will have a lot of help, unseen help, angelic help, whatever you believe in, light, as the structures of darkness of old, the old matrix was overtaken. The structures of old are continuing to crumble and dissolve, and there'll be dissolution, and the new points of light are being built even more strongly. So and they're saying enjoy these next months as we come into holiday seasons in the US at least, And remember what these things are for, so that we can be thankful and resonate with kind of Christed energies. He's talking about Christmas for many people, Christmas time, which would have to do with Christed energy. Again, you need to have no background of anything, any religions or anything. Just know that the higher frequencies allow them to come in. And they're also saying, in a group, kind of saying, feel your feelings. If you're mad, if you're sad, if you're scared, if you've been wounded and hurt and lost and tired, it's okay. Allow those feelings to come up. Don't oppress them anymore. Don't silence each other, and don't silence yourselves. However, harm no one. Like, don't go out and hurt people, but allow those feelings and emotions and wounds to come up and clear, as there's just a large campaign for humanity's behalf to clear away and cleanse away some of the things, the most painful wounds within all of us, collectively and personally and always. He says, make this world great, not just this country, but make this world great again. And clear your energies, keep up protective barriers and boundaries, and know that you are safe, and know that you are loved, and that you can ask for help at any time and access us at any time. He's saying there will be financial gain. I don't really know. There wasn't seeming to be more in the financial reset or financial arena. It might just be that I don't understand it, but they're saying it is happening slowly but surely. That wasn't just a concept. It was a concept that that others tried to distort so that we never understood how to rise up. Freedom for all. You are safe, and thank you. And they step back. They're calling me Mrs. Thank you for talking to us. We will talk to you again at a later date. And I say thank you so much. Many blessings. And many blessings to all of you. Hope you have a great day, great week.